welcome to the 290 Mo podcast. I appreciate your time. If you could introduce yourself for my viewers and listeners.
Yeah, what's up, y'all? It's Treasure, aka Treasure Nicole, your favorite Scorpio. So I'm definitely in the building with 290 Mo Podcast.
Definitely appreciate your time. You know what I'm saying? It's your second time here in a different iteration, but I definitely appreciate you making the time to be here.
Yeah, sure.
With that being said, I don't know how familiar you are with my work, but I like to start from the beginning. So
hmm
if you don't mind, where's Treasure from? Where you from? Where you grew up?
well, I grew up in like the west suburbs, Maywood, Bellwood. For those of y'all who really know,
Yeah, I know.
yeah,
Granny on Ninth and Harrison.
y'all
I know.
okay?
Nah,
Y'all know
nah.
about it definitely. So yeah, I grew up around there. I definitely went to school there. I went to high school out there. When I went to college, I ended up going to college downtown to Columbia. I know a lot of people know there. Um, and I went to Triton for a little bit. So I always been kind of local and in Chicago. When I came out of school, um, I started really taking the music really seriously. Outside of working a regular job, I was hustling, trying to get this music out. And man, I'm sitting here now and I'm still pushing the music. Got a new album out called Night Owl, and I got another album coming out called Girl's Best Friend. It's coming soon. In between there's going to be like singles and features and just all kind of just like visualizers. I just want to keep giving content for the people who've been with me since day one.
For sure, that's dope. That's dope. That's a dope story.
Yeah,
But we gotta slow it down just a tad bit.
I
Okay.
know, I know.
So what I want to know is coming up. You know what I'm saying? They always tell you could be anything you want. You know what I'm saying? You go to school, you learn different things. What was your aspirations coming up? Like, what did you envision yourself being like as a shorty? Like, I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to be a teacher, doctor, lawyer. Like, what was that?
Well, this is going to sound cliche, but I always knew that I was going to be a singer. I always knew that I was going to be or in front of the camera or using my voice to some aspect because I've been doing it since I was little. I started out in the church, and both my parents were in music. My mom was singing, and my dad was playing instruments. On top of that, I had creative uncles and aunts. I had uncles that were poets. I had aunties that were doing plays and films. So I was surrounded by those things. So I was surrounded by the arts. So it naturally just became something that I knew that I was going to do. I didn't know how it was going to happen. And sometimes I wake up and I still don't know how it's going to happen because I do so many things, but I've been doing it since I was so small. So people say, yeah, but what are you? And you be like, well, I sing, I write, I model, I host, I act, and it's the truth. I do all those things. So I'm just Treasure. So
For sure, that's dope. That's dope. And you said cliche, but a lot of artists, I don't actually hear that a lot. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? I hear a lot of people say I was trying to be a doctor or a teacher. You know what I'm saying? So
Oh, okay.
I actually that's not really too cliche. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? A lot of people find they calling later in life. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So what a question I got for ask. A question I got for you is I grew up in the church for a tad bit of my life, you know
Okay.
what I'm saying? Once I don't know if you're familiar with Y2K.
Y2K. What's that? Tell me.
Well, like the year 2000, like a lot of people thought the world was going to end.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Of
So like
course.
my parents was going to a church, my mother was going to a church where they thought the world was going to end.
hmm
So after that shit ain't happened, we stopped going to church. But
Oh, I see.
I say that to ask you this is, what was your what was being played in the household? You know what I'm saying? Coming up, was it strictly church music? Like what? I know when I was in the church, it was like called worldly music. Like what was being
Yeah.
played in the household? What was you listening to, and who was influencing Treasure coming up?
Well, I had two different sets of things that were playing because although both my parents were involved in music, they were separated. And it was two separate houses. So when I was at my mom's house, I was listening to the Anita Baker, the Luther Vandross. When I was at my dad's house, I was listening to the Yolanda Adams and the um, who else does he
That's
like?
correct. I thought it would have been opposite. I'm sure.
I know. So it's always so different. But even though my mom listened to more secular music than she did gospel, she was still in the church for a little bit, and then but my dad was in the church heavy. And he always listened to gospel music. So yeah.
How much influence would you say the gospel music have an influence on you at all getting into music? Like, did you be like, I have to make a certain type of music for a certain type of group, or I can't say this, or I can't say that, or
Mhm.
moms might hear it, or pastor might hear it? Was that
Yeah.
anything you ever had to deal with?
Oh yeah. At first, especially when I was a teenager coming out of high school, I had like a conflict. I was like, well, can I say this? Because I was still singing in a church, and even to this day, I still play drums for the church. And I think about,
Damn, you play drums for the church?
I do,
Oh, you crawl, you raw, you
I
go
do,
crazy. You play
I
drums for the
do.
church,
Yeah, you got to be good. If
right?
you
You
play
can't.
for the
Anybody
church,
can't play for the church.
everybody cannot play for the
Oh,
church.
surely.
But I when I was a teenager, I was like, I felt like I was living almost two separate personalities. Like it was like, yeah, I was singing in the church, but the thing is, I never hid in church that I sung music that wasn't church. People, I remember in the church they asked one day, and I was like 11, 12. They asked, "Oh, what do you want to be when you grow up?" In the church, and they gave all the kids the mic, and I said, "I want to be an R&B singer," and I said that in a
You said
church.
R&B.
R&B. I was like 11, 12, and anybody who went to that church, they know, they can vouch, they can say, "Oh, I remember that." And it was it's always been in me. And it's never felt like that I was a bad person because I like that genre of
Right.
music, but when you do grow up in that environment, you do feel a sort of guilt though.
So with you having the connection of both sides, do you remember creating your first piece of music? And if you do, what was that content, that subject matter like? You know what I'm saying? Having, you know what I'm saying, influences from both sides.
Yeah, I think even with I think when I first wrote um my first song and recorded it. It was actually about this guy that I was with in high school. I was like 14, and I had recorded a song called "Thug Love." I remember. Oh my god. Ah. No, but no,
What kind
it
of
was
thug love y'all got
I
going on
know,
at
right?
14?
Fake thug love. It was cap. It was cap. But at the time, you young and you feel it and you feel like you're in it.
For sure.
And that was really my first song. I've always been sort of an emotional person. I haven't. I usually don't show it on the exterior, but on the interior, I am like, I'm an explosion of emotions. So when I first started singing, yeah, that's where the songs came from. But I always brought in that gospel styling as far as the way that I sing. So somebody would hear me sing and say, "You sound so churchy" in the beginning. Like, "Oh, you got church runs and stuff like that."
That's what they told you.
In the
That must have been in the
beginning,
beginning, because I ain't heard
right
that.
now I've kind of honed in. I've kind of as you get
That's
older,
R&B I heard.
yeah.
For sure.
Oh, it's real R&B.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
better believe that. Yeah.
So also what I want to know, you know what I'm saying, with having upbringing in the church, and it kind of coincides with that question. Your first time in the studio, first time in the studio. If you could walk me through that, is that something that you could recollect?
Yeah.
Like, does that come early as what we're talking about? Or does that come later in life? Actually, you know what I'm saying, becoming a independent artist.
Well, my first time in the studio, I was actually with, I believe I was with my cousin that was aspiring a rap career at the time, and he was taking me to his sessions, and we were tight like glue. And I would watch him record, and I would watch him come out and talk to the engineer and things like that, and I would watch them literally create, and I'm like, I can do this. I can take, because at first I was just writing poetry before I was writing songs. I was writing poetry, so I can turn these words literally and put them on a melody and do exactly what I'm seeing. And I took a stab at it, and I am addicted to this day to the studio. I was in the studio yesterday, actually.
Okay.
So yeah.
So you mentioned writing poetry.
Yes.
What were you doing with these poetry writings after you write them or after you complete them? Was it something only for you? Was you sharing them with friends and family? What were you doing with these?
Well, I wrote my first poem when I was 9, 10, and at first I was just performing it for like my mom, and rest in peace to my brother, my oldest brother Lester. I used to perform them. I used to read them to him too. But it was just, at first it was just for me, because you're young, you don't know what to do with yourself. You just know you're writing something, it's making sense to you, and you feel good while you're doing it. And so I would have notebooks on top of notebooks, and I still do to this day. And I would just store them. But as I got older, I started to go to like poetry conventions, and I started watching
I didn't even know they
poetry.
had poetry convention.
Yeah, they actually have Christian poetry conventions. They have all kinds, and I didn't know that either until I started looking on YouTube, looking at people actually perform poetry, and I'm like, I want to do that. So I started going to open mics. But of course, this was years after writing. You know, if you start at 10, if I said I started 9 and 10, I don't think I performed any poetry until I was like 17. You know, so but it was great. It was great, and it kind of turned into lyrics to a song, and now I'm writing. I find myself writing like episodes and stuff. So I guess it just gets bigger and bigger.
Oh, you writing episodes? I might need your services.
I want you to read my script for real.
You got a script?
I'm almost
I
done.
want to shoot some shit.
I'm serious.
Sure.
Okay.
I say short film and like in skits just because I don't want to go too big because I don't have no background. You know what I'm saying? I just do my YouTube research,
Yeah.
but that's definitely what I'm saying what I want to get done this year for sure.
Let's do it.
What I want to ask you, you know what I'm saying, with the worldly aspect, if you don't mind me saying that, and then the
Yeah.
church aspect.
Sure.
What was your father's response? You know what I'm saying? Because you was at OG crib already listening to the Anita Bacons and stuff like that. What was Pop's response to, you know what I'm saying, the worldly music? Like, this what you, or did you not share it with him?
Yeah, well, my dad was a very strict man when it came to everything, you know, to who I was with, where I was, what I was listening to, what I was watching. And so he definitely had his ears and eyes on me at all times. And there were a lot of times where I didn't play my stuff for him. I remember one time I played a song for him that I had recorded, and he walked out the room, you know, and it was because it just wasn't what his ears were accustomed to, you know, and I kind of felt some kind of way at first, but I'm like, well, that's not how he grew up. That's not the type of music that, you know, he likes. So, you know, he was
For
kind of
sure.
just honest and straightforward. Like, I don't like this amount, you know, but, you know, now I can get him to sit and listen, you know, but I remember just back in the day, there would be times where I didn't show him. And even with my mom, I would show her some stuff, but I would just be so sensitive about my stuff, you know, where it's like, I'd be so afraid that you wouldn't like it at times, but I had to build that confidence over the years.
Speaking of building that confidence, you know what I'm saying? I assume that's something that you have to do early. So if you could just attest to what type of steps did you take, you know what I'm saying? Like what does it take to build, you know what I'm saying, that type of confidence? Or for you personally, what did it take?
I think for me, I always joke and say I didn't know I was fine until maybe my senior year of high school. So I didn't know until real late. But when I did kind of become confident in my physical appearance and in the way that I speak and the way people respond to me, I think that kind of went hand in hand with the music. You know, the more comfortable I got with myself by pouring into myself, really just not in a crazy psycho way, but talking to myself,
Sure.
being positive to myself, that's when it started showing on the outside, and that's when I was able to affect people on the outside as well. So I think it just kind of happened. And then, you know, church is kind of like a boot camp, man. I mean, in all facets of the word, especially when you choose to play a role in the church, and you're not just going there, like, you're being criticized every week.
Right.
So you get used to it fast. And so I kind of think it definitely prepared me for what I'm dealing with now.
For sure. Before we leave off the church, I gotta ask you this. You mentioned that you're currently still playing drums in the church.
I am.
Does that affect, you know what I'm saying, like whatever you do now, like you be in church playing the drums and be like, yeah, I needed this, I had a long week, or is it business?
No, every time I go to church, even though I play a role in it, and outside of church, I do sing my R&B, what they call it. Wait, what was the question? I forgot that quick. Sorry.
Does like
Damn, and you say you don't edit this shit either.
right, I don't edit
Go
this
ahead,
shit because
sorry.
now you making me, you know what I'm saying?
Sorry. My bad.
It's all good though. I'm played off though. But I think I asked you like as far as the church and the worldly music. I'm just asking another question. So when you doing your music now, does it ever be a time where it's like, oh, that's why I asked you. I said, so when you doing the playing the drums at church, you know what I'm saying? Do you ever feel like, is it strictly business? Like I'm here just to play the drums, or do you be like sometimes like, oh, pastor just had a message, I
Yeah.
needed that,
Right.
or just the music you playing is the
Yeah.
music you may have needed for that day just because of the inspiration behind it.
Right. And I appreciate you repeating that question for me.
I pulled that motherfucker from the
Yeah,
hat,
yeah. Well, we
boy.
got it because I'm like, wait, what was I saying? But because I'm so focused on trying to give you a clear answer. But when I play the drums, and when I go into church, I always expect to come out full, as they call it. Like I always expect to come out getting what I need because I'm giving my energy to make the service go the way it goes. So I kind of expect some of that in return, whether it's through another way through the music, or whether it's the pastor speaking, or whatever the case may be. But I never reject uh, a spiritual opportunity for me to get stronger just because I sing another genre. I don't even think that doesn't even make sense to me.
Okay. And I know I said last question about the church, but
Yeah.
a lot of times with church you hear like the word what's the word? Hypocrite a lot. You know what I'm saying? So do you ever, you know what I'm saying, like get the vibe or heard anybody say like you up in here playing the drums and you was just at the wild hell I getting
Right.
wild last night. You know what I'm saying? Is that
Yeah.
anything that's ever came up like amongst the whispers or
Yeah, no, I've had so many experiences when it comes to the thin line between performing at venues such as the Wild Hair and performing or ministering is what they would call it at the church. And at first I took it really hard. I didn't know how to take it because I'm like, well, I love singing here, but I love singing here too. So it was more so a spiritual thing. The people kind of made it a little worse, but like I said, as I grew more confident and in who I was, and knowing why I do what I do, and knowing what I believe in, knowing that that's not going to change no matter if I'm singing country, gospel, the blues, whatever. And then I feel like on top of that, even when I am out doing my thing or whatever, I don't feel like I represent a persona that's um, too crazy off from what I would represent in a church. It's not like I'm taking a mask off when I go outside from the church. It's always me. It just may be different versions of me.
definitely understood.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind, I'd like to go into your creative process a little bit. Like
do it.
like what goes into, you know what I'm saying, creating what you made. Like you mentioned starting with poetry, and I assume that it started with writing in some shape, form, or fashion. So
Yeah.
do you currently still write? Is it freestyling, punching in and out? Like what's it like actually creating a project now that you're a seasoned artist?
No, I still write. Um, I write just to get all the stuff out of my head. Like it's so much stuff that goes on through my head all the time. And in my creative process, I make sure I write it or I type it or I'm putting it in my phone. It's going somewhere. And as far as my creative process in the studio, yeah. I still do it old school. I got the pen and the notebook paper. Sometimes I may be on my computer, but I listen to the beat and I sit with the beat. I don't rush the process. And then like whatever it is I'm going through, I kind of put it in that song and I let it come out. Like the other day, I one of my songs that I recorded was called "Prove It" because I'm in the era of I ain't believing nothing but actions. So prove it. So that with me being in that era, that was what made that song come out the way it did.
And I'm glad that you mentioned that because one of my questions I got for you is how closely does your real life coincide with the music? You know what I'm saying? Because R&B a lot of time is really passionate. It triggers certain emotions. You know what I'm saying? Like even me personally, I like to listen to R&B when I'm in a certain type of mood. You know what I'm saying? So, how closely related is your art with your real life?
If not almost the same. The 99.999, I think. And I say that because even with the album that's out now, Night Owl, that took a year and a half for that album to come out, right? But when I listen to the songs on that album, I know exactly I can tell you exactly in that year and a half around what time I recorded it because that's what literally I was feeling. It's like a timeline of my emotions, I think. So pretty much almost the same.
Does any type of filtering goes on like with that? And what I mean is like, do you be creating a project and you might be like, you know what I'm saying, you might get too detailed or might get too informational, or does whoever might be attached to you at that point in your time know exactly, what I'm saying, what you're talking about? Is it?
Yeah, yeah. I think sometimes I do find myself. I don't think there's no such thing as going too deep because I know that music makes you be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Like you cannot get on a beat and start writing and lie to yourself because that's where your truth comes out. So it's hard for me to hold back. Um, but I do know, depending on the song, what it's for, what message I'm trying to convey, I know how much to say. I be like, oh, I'll tell them that later. Yeah, that happened, but we gonna bring that in later. Or yeah, this kind of relates to what's going on in the world even now. Let's put this out and give people something to relate to.
So another thing I want to ask you is, what's it like working with others? You know what I'm saying? Me meeting you was through a situation where you was collaborating with other artists. You know what I'm saying? So overall, now that you're here solo, um, what's your overall opinion on working with other artists? Is that something that you enjoy? Something you rather not do? Something you only do with people that you have a personal relationship with? What's it like working with Treasure?
Yeah, I do think that I am sort of a. I remember when I came here last time, and I said I think what I learned. One of the things that I learned the most is the not the power of yes, but the power of no. Right, knowing who you are. Double metaphor, right? Knowing who you are enough to know when to say, okay, that's for me. That's not for me. So I don't ever force anything. I don't care about the person's numbers or the person's yearly experience. If I feel good around you and we creating something and it speaks to my heart and I can see something in my head moving forward, let's do it. I don't care if you have 700 followers, 7,000 followers. It doesn't matter because I know that the only way up is collaboration.
For sure, for sure, and I definitely can respect that because I'm like the same way in this sphere. Because you know what I'm saying, people be working, you know what I'm saying, and you're not necessarily, they flower might not necessarily has blossomed yet, you know what I'm saying. And I'll never be like, you know what I'm saying, your flower ain't blossomed yet. I ain't working with you, you know what I'm saying. When it comes to working with other artists, does any type of vetting process go with that? Like you sound pretty open to working with, you know what I'm saying, other people. But do you be like, let me check out their music, let me check out their track record, let me ask somebody who I know who's familiar with them, their experiences with them, is does that in any of that go into account, or is it, you know what I'm saying, you get a clean slate with me, you know what I'm saying, this is our business. What's it like?
Absolutely. I definitely like I said, I definitely don't go into a situation blindfolded. I always, even coming here, I always do my research because I want to know where I'm coming. I want to know who I'm dealing with in a certain extent. Now, if we lived in the age of social media, it would be, I would be worried, right? Because I would be like, okay, how am I gonna, you know, how's this person gonna receive me, and then vice versa. But I definitely do. I do my research. I do my homework. But I do know that it's nothing like an in-person thing. So if you message me on DM and you say, "Oh, I want to work," and I go on your page and I don't see any work, right? I know for a fact that that's not something that I probably am gonna do because, if you ain't doing it, you ain't gonna do it when you ain't
All
gonna
right,
start with
it's
me.
gonna change now.
But if I do my research and I see that you're active, and it does help when you know people that I know, but I know that this industry is so big and so small at the same time that we meet new people all the time. Like I watched a lot of your interviews, and I've seen a lot of people that I know sit here, but this is my second time meeting you, right? So I didn't even know what you looked like. I didn't even know anything. So um, it's always interesting, but I definitely use my discernment. I use how is this going to benefit both of us and not just you or not just me. And if it makes sense, we'll do it. And if not, we'll wait, or we'll either just not do it and just, and maybe connect in a different way.
For sure, for sure. Still talking about connecting a little bit. With the industry you're in comes with a lot of offers and opportunities as far as management, record labels, and deals and distributions and 360s. What's your overall opinion on those things? Is that something that you're interested in? Something you're shopping yourself for? Are you currently connected to any type of management or record label? What's that situation like?
Well, I initially, when I initially started, I was actually signed to an independent label by the name of Phenomenal ENT, and this was from the years I was 19 all the way until I was 22 years old. So I was on a 3 year, I was in a 3 year business, had a 3 year business relationship with them, and after that I was independent. But in that I had like two managers. I had two managers. I had a. Oh, I'm sorry. I had two managers. I had in which I did certain things where I did some ghostwriting. I did some different plays and things like that. And currently I am independent, but I'm not opposed to not signing. I think I did have a little trauma as far as, oh, I don't want a manager because I don't want nobody telling me what to do or telling me I gotta do something. But that was just ego, right? That's a lot of artists, we kind of suffer that bad. We got ego. We don't want nobody telling us what to do. But at the end of the day, everybody has somebody that's advising them, however you want to put it. They don't have to be your boss, but your advisor, your manager. And now I'm actually, my mind has expanded so much, whereas to we starting our own management companies. We getting with people that we trust, whether it's people in our family or it's people that we've grown relationships with along the way, and we like, hey, you got the LLC, you got the, we finna start our own management company, and we're gonna build. So entrepreneurship, ownership is the goal, because we're in the future now, and we can literally be whatever we want to be.
Facts, for sure. For anybody who may be listening or watching and who's also a artist like you, and with you having the experience on being through that situation, is that something that you would recommend or tell an artist to take a different route coming in?
Well, I always think people should do what's best for them. So considering your situation, if you're saying, "Hey, I got all this good music, but you're in shortage of marketing, or you're in shortage of maybe different tools of studio or camera or whatever it is that you may need, maybe you do need a machine behind you, and maybe signing will be your best bet. But if you feel like maybe you got the money and you got the following and you got enough to where you can have the people automatically give you what you want based off of the work that you've put in by yourself independently, then I say stay independent." So I think it all depends. One thing I will say is don't do anything because somebody else is telling you to do it, though, because they could just only be looking out for themselves. So you have to be very mindful of that.
Also, just for the people who may be listening and watching, who may be in the same position as you work in, you know what I'm saying, and maybe currently in, what was it about the situation that was like, you know what I'm saying, like, what was the terms or conditions that they brought to you that was like, it sounded like a, you know what I'm saying, a good idea, and looking back on it, would you have done it over the same way, or would you have took a different course?
So I think as far as when I had got signed to the independent label, I feel like what made me say yes was, again, something that we were talking about earlier. It was presented to me by somebody that was actually going to my uncle's church at the time, because my uncle is a pastor as well. And he had heard me sing, and he was like, "Hey, I want you to come meet my uncle. He's starting a label, and we already got artists, and we need a female artist, and I think you'll be like," it was like, it really was like a movie. Like one day I do want to like make a movie of my shit.
I want to make a movie of my shit.
But and I was just like, yeah, sure, why not? You know what's the worst that can happen, right? This is something that I have been kind of manifesting. I want to be, I want to have a backing behind me, and I want to have something. I want to be able to put out my stuff in a way that I know it can be looked at, and I want to do my best. So I went in, and long story short, I said yes, and I was with them for 3 years. Would I do it? If I had a chance to do it all over again, I still would do it that way. I probably would take more advantage of the opportunities that were allotted to me. I think because I was young and I was in school and I was working, it was a lot.
For sure.
All at the same time, right? I think if I had put more of my energy into it early on rather than kind of stretching myself so thin, I think it may have been certain things that probably would have panned out a little better, but that's part of being human. We're never going to do everything all the way perfect. And I'm sure I'll look at some stuff in this era of life and be like, "Oh, I could have done that." So you can't run away from the could haves. So it's fine. Everything happened the way it's supposed to be. I had no regrets, and I do it all over again the same way.
That's dope. I definitely feel you with that. I'm the same way. You know what I'm saying? Everything, you know what I'm saying, if it don't kill you, you know what I'm saying, I learned something from it. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's definitely a good mindset to have. What you do in music, you know what I'm saying, do you ever get discouraged? Like with the music, like do you be like fuck music, I'm just finna go be a nurse. I'm finna go be a doctor, a lawyer.
Yes, I know. In this freestyle that I plan on putting out, uh, I said something along the lines of, "Will I ever wake up in the morning and just be a regular bitch and get some regular jobs and work some regular shifts?" I remember saying something like that, and it's just like that's not downplaying the people that choose the 9 to 5 as their lifestyle. I actually have so much respect for those people. But when it's in you and it's just bursting out of you 24/7, it's hard to contain it. Even if I did have a regular 9 to 5, I feel like it would spill over. It will. And I still do work. I still do work because I got bills.
Sure,
But
facts.
but even in my arena of my work, I don't water my superstar down. Like they still know who I am, why I'm here, and it's I still make it that. So I get so caught up in the answer that I lose the question. This is the
Yeah.
second time.
Yeah, me too. I get caught up watching you explain it that I
Sorry.
lose what I asked. But it's cool because I got another one in the chamber. And with you being like a R&B artist, I feel like R&B is real like is real emotional. I don't know if emotional the word, but like I said earlier, I listen to R&B like only when I'm
Yeah.
in a certain type of mode. You know what I'm saying? So is that something that as an artist that you're, you know what I'm saying, once you're creating, like you're like you're intentionally trying to make that connection, or does that just come with, you know what I'm saying, being a part of the genre? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think it comes with I think R&B is the catalyst of emotions when we talk about. I think it's in between. Well, I take that back. I think all genres of music carry emotion, right? But when it comes to that R&B, I think we really hone in to just like that sex, that love, and that pain. That those main three ingredients that really go into the genre. I'm emotional. I'm emotional anyway. I have so many signs of me being emotional subtly. Like I got a heart tattooed on my arm here, and I got a
I couldn't tell. I think you a killer.
I know, and you know what? So many people. It's so funny.
Not a killer, but it
I
seemed like you real
know.
great. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You
Listen.
got a great vibe. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, hey, Treasure, I'm gonna be 30 minutes late. She's like, oh, it's okay. You know what I'm saying? Don't worry about it. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
because life goes on. But I haven't always been this way, right? So I think that just comes with age. It comes with experience. It comes with a lot of wild and crazy mistakes.
For sure.
I just don't feel like every part of our personalities have to be shown right away
Facts.
in no
Or at all.
in no scenario. Like you'll see it if it's needed, right? Right now, I'm giving you what's needed for this time. You need the energy, you need the whatever, and it's genuine. So it's here, it's in your face.
For sure. Question I forgot about.
Yes.
I want to know, you know what I'm saying, about your peers. You know what I'm saying? What's your relationship like with the other R&B singers that you see, you know what I'm saying, when you out at the Wild Hair or another venue, you know what I'm saying, when there's other artists on the showcase as well. What's your relationship like? Is it a R&B camaraderie, like is it R&B union amongst the R&B singers? Is it South Side R&B clique and
Oh
West Side
Lord.
R&B clique? Like what's it like in the R&B world?
I think in the R&B world, I would have to say the first word that comes to my mind is respect. I think I've never been I've been lucky enough to never be in a place where I was on a ticket with a bunch of other artists and there was no respect. Now we all have had our own individual journeys. So when we come together, some of us may have a little more superstar than the others. Some of us may have that Hollywood thing,
That's what we
more
call it, Hollywood.
more than others, right? But it's not saying I'm any better than you. It's not saying that I got more of this than you. No, no, no. It's saying, hey, we both here. No matter where our individual journeys have, now we both on the in the same world. So let's show respect to each other. And I think that's really the only way to do it. And I think anybody who shows me different from that, I don't even see them. It's like you're fucking invisible. So I ain't see you anyway.
When you making music, you know what I'm saying. I've never heard the term because I don't really listen to R&B like I said unless I'm in a certain mode. But you know what I'm saying. Since I've been these recent conversations that I've had with you and Bree and Johnny, I've heard the term R&B is dead. Is that something that you ever heard the term? And if you have, what do you think? You know what I'm saying? They mean by it because we still got Chris Browns and Ushers and stuff. So what does the term R&B is dead even come from?
Yeah, we kind of touched on this last time I was here, and it's so funny when I watched the interview back. I'm like, oh, I should have said this, so I'm gonna say it now.
Great.
R&B is dead. I have heard that, and I think that again, back from my old answer, I would say, I think when the rappers start singing, and we all started kind of like combining it together, it kind of watered down R&B, which made people say, R&B's dead, right? Even with auto tune, even when
Yeah,
auto
for sure.
tune was super heavy, it was like, oh wait, so the rappers are sounding like the R&B singers, so I guess it's all the same. When the real, if you know, you know. If you
Yeah,
know
for
your
sure.
music, you just know it's not the same. And I think every genre of music has this ups and downs. So I think hip hop at one point was the number one genre, right? And then I think at one point country was the number one genre, but then R&B now, even with the R&B girls, I think with the female music scene expanding and rap too. I think it just put a whole nother stamp and definition on what R&B is, and realizing that R&B doesn't have to always be the slow, sad, oh, I can't take it no more, I can't live without you. It can also be the, hey, we in the club, we smooth, we move, and there's different ways to, it's different ways to say a word, just like tomato, tomato, right? But that still is still the same thing when you hold it in your hand, right? No matter how you say it. So I never thought R&B was dead, because if I listen to enough R&B to keep it alive, I think forever, because I listen to it all day long, all night long, every day. Um, I think it just depends on who's doing it, and I think right now with the R&B scene that we have now, with, like you say, the Chris Browns and the Ushers, and um, I think they're giving it a good name. And as far as like the independent artists that we have now, I think it's good too. You know, I listen to the R&B, and I love it. I love how everybody translated, but I know when people listen to me, it's like the core R&B. I know they get that for sure.
For sure. Another question I want to ask you. I want to get your opinion on being a female in a male-dominated industry. As far as the men, a lot of times, not saying that women don't, but a lot of times the men are the cameramen. They're the engineers. They're the promoters for the event or the venue. What has your experience been like being a female in the male-dominated industry?
My experience being a female, one thing I would say is coming into the industry, we all know that, being a female, you're gonna get hit on. There are gonna be things that'll be said that maybe you take the wrong way or something like that, because we're females, we emotional, we soak in everything, right? But I think it made me tough too. I think it made my skin tough. I was lucky enough to be so protected when I first got in the music industry that it wouldn't even be me you talk to first if you want to deal with me, right? It would always be somebody else. It would be like a process, and then I was like the last level, and we in the studio, we getting it done. Hey, how are you? And it it put like a sort of celebrity coat on me in a way at a young age, and I didn't even realize it, because people was like, hey, I want to work with Treasure, but I have to talk to this person first, because they're the ones that kind of smooth that out for me, kind of like in a management way. But being a female is hard. It's being a female hard doing anything, because that's just the way life is. But we work twice as hard to get half as much. So I'm just working quadruple as hard to get what I deserve.
For sure, for sure. With you working so hard at what you do, what is your favorite part about what you do?
It has to be in between the studio when I'm recording these songs, pouring my soul out into that booth, or when I'm directing the visual. When I got the cast and I'm shooting a visual and I'm like, hey, I want this to look like this. I really feel like I'm in my complete glow in those two moments. And it's something that I never want to stray away from. It's like nothing else matters, and that's why I'm going into writing scripts because of that love I feel. It's just like, whoa, this is what I want to do, and I even want to do voiceovers and stuff too. I want to do a whole lot of stuff with my voice. I think I can do it.
For sure. It sounds like we got some work to be done in the future,
We got
man.
hella work, man.
With you also having, like you just attested to wanting to do other things, with your voice. Was that always something that was in the plan? Like, did you always know, with, doing audio recording that you could do voiceovers or you could do other audio work? Or was that something that you learned, as you progress through R&B?
That's something that I learned. I think throughout my life, people have told me, even when I'm on the phone with someone, they'll be like, "Damn, your voice sounds like you need to be."
I ain't saying
Your
nothing. I'm
voice,
so listening to these
your voice,
headphones.
your voice sound like it need to be on the radio. Your voice, and I just be like, at first I thought it was just game. It's like, oh, they just running game, whatever. But when I really started listening to myself, when I started recording myself speaking, or when I started recording myself doing like behind the scenes stuff, or even when I did radio, I worked for UrbanGrind TV for 2 years, and when I did that, I got so comfortable hearing myself speak and knowing how to talk to people and how to just get the message across. You can say anything, but you got to know how to say it.
For sure.
And I think when I learned the language, that's when I just persevered. Yeah.
For sure.
And I think my regular job helped me with that too. Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned I'm glad you mentioned that because at the Wild Hair, I think you mentioned the Urban Grind TV thing. So I talked to a couple artists who was artists and worked in like radio or TV, and I always be like, that's a cheat code because you know what I'm saying, you do music and you promoting at the same time. So you
Yes.
might be. What was your experience like? Like, how did you get into that? Was it something that was offered to you, something that you was, working toward and obtained? Like, how did you find yourself in that situation?
I found myself in radio when, like I said, being in the industry, you get a lot of relationships, you grow a lot of relationships with a lot of people. I had a relationship with this fellow. I won't say his name, but he was hosting already. He was hosting parties. He was rapping. He was already hosting in the radio, and he had seen me perform a number of times throughout Chicago. And one day he approached me and was like, "Hey, they're looking for female hosts for this radio show that I work for, and I think you would be perfect for it. Can you send me like an audition tape so I can show the CEO of the company, and then maybe come down and see if you like it? Even come down and get an interview first as an artist, and then kind of get it both ways." And then I think over a couple months of us kind of talking and discussing the whole thing, I finally made my way down there. Um, I had got interviewed by Urban Grind TV as an artist, and I think maybe not even 6 months after that, I was hosting at their show. And I remember going up there just to see what it was like, just to see if this was something that I wanted to do. Because I know sometimes as singers, we like, oh, I just want to sign, I want to get a deal, I want $1 million, and then I want to make music forever. But we never know how we're going to get there. Radio, in my mind, I said, if I can get them to hear my voice, I can get them to hear my music. Right? If I can get them to fall in love with the personality, I can get them to fall in love with the music.
I already got their ears.
So I was so ready for that, and I think that journey and that 2 year journey that I had taught me the most, because I talked to so many different people. I was able to come in contact with so many different people, not just artists. I'm talking about business owners and of all cultures, and it helped me so much. And I would never, even though it ended in a way where I wish was different, I would have never taken it back for nothing.
Okay, okay. I'm glad you walked it there because that was my next question. I want to know how did it end? Was it copacetic? It not only that, but did it leave you with not having the interest into returning into something like that, or are
Mm-hmm.
you interested in returning to radio? How did it end, and what does your interest lie now as far as radio?
Mm-hmm. It ended on a note where I think some things could probably be discussed, but everybody that was in that building, the people that I hosted with, from down to the camera people and the behind the scenes people, I have nothing but love for, and they know this. But I think just as far as the situation with me and the head of the company, I think there just were some differences that we couldn't seem to get past, but that never made me fall out of love with radio. I mean, I was still um, doing podcasts and things of that. I was guest hosting on other podcasts and stuff after that. And I'm ready to jump back in because while I was there, I had a podcast segment of my own called Girl Talk, where it was 4 or 5 ladies. We got on a panel and we just talked. We talked about everything. And I still have the Instagram page up for people who want to check out our episodes. We got to 2 seasons and we didn't get to finish the second season. But like I said, everything happens for a reason. And we're going to come back under a different name, under a different branch. And it's going to be amazing.
For sure, that's dope, and I can't wait to see that come into fruition. So, with you having talent on the mic, in the music, in the radio, do you ever feel like I can't do both, or I shouldn't do both, or I should be, you know what I'm saying, the time that I'm invested getting ready for girls talk, if I put that into the music, maybe, you know what I'm saying, the music could be doing something different, or do you feel like, you know what I'm saying, it's all a part of your story?
I feel like it's all in one. I feel like it all. I mean, this is an old saying, but they say there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat, right?
Facts.
So if I'm over here and I'm recording songs to be put out for streaming, and I'm shooting videos, and I'm over here and I'm hosting radio, and I'm over here and I'm taking pictures to be in magazines, and then I'm over here and I'm on TV, and it's like if the music, let's just say the music isn't streaming as well, which I can't see that happening because I know the world loves the R&B, right? But let's just say the music isn't streaming like it's supposed to, and the modeling is going crazy, or the radio, we don't have as many listeners as we do this week, but they're watching me on TV. It's all bringing you back to me, and that's all that I want because Treasure isn't just a singer; she's a whole brand.
For
You
sure.
know, that's my real name. That's my stage name. That's just who I
That's your
am.
real name?
Yes.
With the spell like that, with the apostrophe?
Yes.
For real?
That's my real
That's
name.
dope.
Yeah. So
Was you always like, I'm gonna just use my real name from the jump?
yeah. I think when I was younger, I used to call myself T Baby.
Your real name is also a great stage name, though. That's all.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
good stage name.
I was so glad I didn't have to change it, but I used to call myself T Baby. Then I called myself Treasure Baby. That was I was young though. I was like,
Treasure definitely the one.
yeah,
Treasure
I
the one.
think so.
For sure. So I'm glad you brought it up because I also want to get into the modeling. Of course, I've done my research, you know what I'm saying, and I've seen your work, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, as somebody who's not too familiar with the modeling, how deep are you into the modeling? Is it a hobby? Is it a passion? Is it another career path? And if you could just explain, because I talked to a model recently and learned that it was different type of categories of model, like runway models and
Yeah, it
stuff like
is.
that. So if you could just explain your involvement in the industry.
Well, I think when I first started, well, I've always loved the camera. My parents documented a lot of my life growing
That's
up,
dope.
so I was I was almost trained to be in front of a camera. So it's abnormal for me not to be in front of a camera. And so um, I think when I started singing, of course, that music was the main focus. And then I started getting into modeling. The way that I did that was, though, I'm not signed to any agency. I have tested out some different agencies to get different booking jobs and things of that nature. But currently, I'm not signed to any agency. But I won't say just last week because I'm not sure when this episode is going to air, but just recently I was published in my 5th international beauty fashion magazine, and that would make me a print model,
Mm.
right? I'm too short to be a runway model.
They
You
got
have to
height
be,
restrictions.
yes, you have to be at least 5'7". And I'm 5'2". And but I don't want to be a runway model. I want to do print. I want to do I want to be, and as I said earlier, my 9 to 5 job is a brand ambassador for a fashion company. So
Okay.
it all just comes into one. And I remember Beyonce saying when she was making Darion, music is fashion. It's just another form of creating the art. That fashion you create with your hands, and music you create with your mouth. But either way, it's all expression.
That's dope. So you mentioned how work and modeling coincides with each other. If you could, and if it doesn't, that's okay. But if you could explain to me how modeling and music coincides with each other, like how do you use, what I'm saying, your modeling to enhance your music, and how may you use your music to enhance your modeling, and vice versa?
Yeah, I think what I do now is what I done actually recently. So yesterday morning I had a photo shoot with this photographer at the beach, and we did that.
Sure. It's cold as hell.
Oh my God, the water, y'all!
Oh, you got on the water?
I only got my feet wet because the water was so cold. The water
That's
had to be at
enough.
least 2 degrees.
Facts.
But I did it in the sand mostly, and I stood on the rocks in the water. And you guys will see that once you follow me on Instagram. You'll see the finished product on that. But I always try to make my shoots kind of match whatever songs I'm recording. So if I'm recording, I'm a water sign, so I'm always gonna be recording something that got to do with water in one way or another. And so when I did that photo shoot yesterday morning, I told the photographer, I said, "Hey, I think I know what I'm gonna record tonight," because I actually went to the studio last night too. And I kind of just usually what I use for modeling, I use for like cover art.
And that's what I was gonna ask you.
I use for like
that's dope.
maybe that YouTube banner that you see when you go to my channel or whatever. Like it all goes into one. It really does.
For sure. So I think earlier I asked you, you know what I'm saying, what's your favorite part about doing what you do? And in a lot of situations, you know what I'm saying, it's a opposite, it's a yin and a yang, it's a up and a down. If you could, or if there is any, what is your least favorite part about what you do? If you could take anything away for whatever reason, what would it be and why?
I think my least favorite part to do is something that you have to do and that you really can't do without being in this industry, and that's just like the small intricacies of the business, because everybody has their own way of dealing with business, and especially when it comes down to that dollar bill, you have to be so careful because your money could go anywhere, or you cannot see no money at all. And sometimes you should be seeing money, or sometimes it's a little short, or whatever it is. I mean, as artists, we all have our share of horror stories, but I think that's my least favorite part because it takes away from, it makes the situations a lot of times so tense when they don't have to be. I know that for me, I have a different relationship with money, so when I talk about money or I talk about exchanges of goods and services with people, I try to purposely and intentionally make it feel like, hey, I'm not ripping your pockets. I really want to know. I know what I'm worth, and I want to pay you for what you're worth, just like I want to be paid for what I'm worth. So, and I think a lot of people haven't mastered the art of talking about finance yet.
For sure.
So
They haven't mastered the art of managing finance yet.
Jesus.
So with the music, you know what I'm saying, with you being a creator, do you at this point still intake any music? And if you do, who are you listening to, whether it be mainstream or local? Who can we find in the Treasur playlist?
If you were to look at my Apple playlist right now, you would definitely see tons of R&B. You would see Chris Brown, you would see Usher, you would see Rihanna, you would see Sade, you would see Aaliyah. You will see Anita Baker. I mean, the list goes on. You will see Michael Jackson, for sure. You will see Mike. And really all the greats. I only listen to the greats. sometimes I let my little nephews, like when they're in the car with me, I say, "You pick the song, you pick the record, because I want to know what they listening to. I want to know what they hear." And they've put me on to a little Durkio. What else I like? Kind of like Rod Wave a little bit, you know. So shout out to my nephews who put me onto that. But I'm real old lady when it comes to the music. I'm taking it all the way back. I'm in the '80s. I'm in the '90s still. The 2000s. That's where I live at.
For sure, for sure. The music industry is forever changing. Like we talked about earlier, some people say R&B is dead. In your opinion, what is the current state of R&B, and where do you feel like it should be, or where does it need to be, or where you trying to get it to?
I think right now we're in like the revival of R&B. I think R&B is being revived in so many different styles. Um, Even when you see like when you see the Scissors and the Summer Walkers, and you see the Ari Lennoxes, and then you look and you see how and you go back to, I always go back to Usher because he's just the king of R&B, right? You go back to Usher and you see how he's keeping it modern, but he's still staying true to that "You Got It Bad" era. I just think it's just a stirring pot, and I feel like it's so much hope for R&B, and I just look forward to what the independent artist scene is doing, as well as the industry. And I know that I can fit my way in both somehow, some way.
Is and I kind of meant to ask you this later, but as far as the music and the modeling, does one come over the other? Like, do you prefer one or the other? If is one, you know what I'm saying, you rather become a big R&B singer, or you want to be a supermodel, like, or is it equal, or?
I'm so happy in both. But I do know that music is where my heart is. It's where my soul is. If there was a time where Vogue called me, and this may be a manifestation video that we're creating right now. If there's a time where any fashion line calls me and says, "Hey, Treasure, we want you to be the face," and I'll be like, "All right, can I make a song for it too?" That's the kind of person I am, right? You know, and so I'm never gonna leave the music. The music is number one. It always will be. But I share such a love for writing, directing, modeling, all of that stuff. I was born to love it all. So, I mean, it's just been like that.
For sure.
Been that way.
For sure. So, one of the things that come with being an artist is promotion, is getting your name and your likeness out to people who may not never heard you or saw you before. So, talk to me about some ways that you get, you know what I'm saying, Treasure out to the masses.
I think currently the biggest way that I'm being that people are starting to familiarize themselves with me is, again, going back to that microphone. I think that radio did so much for me as far as promotion and really reaching the masses in a way that I never have before, no matter what management I was under or anything like that. But I think what I do just on my own independently is I go outside. I go outside and I support different events, and I network, and I put money behind what I need to be posting throughout the internet, and just everything, always, in all ways that I can reach people. I do that. Yeah.
Okay, for sure. That's dope. That's dope. And then with also, you know what I'm saying, promoting your brand, I'm not too familiar how it goes with the modeling world. But as far as modeling goes, is that something that you like have to advertise yourself for? Do you like have a modeling agent? Like, do you only, you know what I'm saying, have a personal photographer when you want to do modeling work? Y'all just pull up to the beach and do work? Like, how does it go as far as putting the work in on the modeling side?
I think personally for me, I think it's all different because, like you said, it's different kind of modeling. And for one runway models, I wouldn't know the path. But I know if you're doing print and you're doing magazine like I'm doing, I think what it takes is you have to get out there, and just like as an artist, when they say you have to record, as a model you have to shoot. You have to take pictures, and you have to take them with the intent, knowing, hey, I might submit these somewhere. So I know in my specific journey, I'm subscribed to this company in which I go through, and where I collaborate with photographers, and I submit my and it's a monthly fee for it, but I submit my work to it, and they get it out to the masses. so they get it out internationally. So it's almost like it's almost like having a modeling manager without seeing them, and knowing that it's legit. But I do, moving forward in my modeling career, I do want to get to a point where I do have a modeling manager, somebody that can give me jobs to be booked for different fashion lines, whether it's Puma or Chanel perfume or whatever the case may be. So that's coming. But you can find me in your magazines. You can find me in your magazines right now. You can post me up like they used to do them posters back in the day, them B2K posters and all that.
Are you okay? You know what I'm saying? Like you're saying, your faces, you're doing the music, you're doing the magazines. You know what I'm saying? And even though Treasure is your government name,
Yeah.
but are you performer Treasure 24/7? Like going to the Walgreens to pick up a prescription? Are you a different Treasure than we got right now, or what's that like? You know what I'm saying? Especially having your stage name being your government.
I know. No, like I was mentioning earlier, I think I'm myself in all arenas. It just depends on what version. Obviously, if I'm at the Wild Hair about to perform, it's not the same version as if I'm at Walgreens buying lotion, right? But if I'm at Walgreens buying lotion, I got on a hoodie and some sweatpants and some gym shoes, I still may get someone coming up to me like, "Wow, like what's that?" Like, you know what I mean? Like, and it really is an aura, and it really is an energy, and it's not something that you can put on. You have to naturally have it. And so I think I always naturally have it for sure.
Okay, for sure. Okay. A lot of artists I talk to, and I got a couple more questions before I let you
Yeah.
go. A lot of artists I talk to, they talk to me about leaving the city to elevate their career in whatever shape, form, or fashion. I know this real popular as far as hip hop goes. I'm not sure how popular it is in the R&B industry. Like, is it something like you got to get out the city to really make it, like to LA or Atlanta, or is that something that's not even, you know what I'm saying, talked amongst the R&B?
No, I think that's definitely something that is just as prevalent in R&B as it is in hip hop. Reason being is because I know in my musical journey, when I've went to certain places like LA and New York, I had there were times where I was out there. I was out in LA and New York for maybe 2 weeks or a month, and I would get more done out there than I would 3 months in my hometown, right? Maybe it was because I'm too comfortable in my hometown, or
Right.
maybe it's because um, I'm too familiar with it, and I- going back to church, because it always goes back to that, y'all. The Bible tells us a man is not honored in his own town, and I think what that means is that
Man, the Bible say that?
it says it,
That's crazy.
and and it's because they're used to you, right? So when I went to LA and I went to New York and I went to Texas and I went to all these other different places, when they saw me, I wasn't just Treasure from Chicago. It was like, oh, whoa, you from Chicago. Like, even just being from Chicago and going to other places, people have that thing where everybody from Chicago is a killer, or they tough, or they woo. And don't be not mistaken that that's something that's in all of us, right?
Don't
But-
play, but we all,
But we that ain't what we here for.
Right.
So I do think it's important for every artist to go out of their hometown and do something. And I recommend it. If I can leave tomorrow and get on a plane, I would, right? And it's not because I hate Chicago, because I love Chicago. It made me who I am every single day. It's because I know that I have to leave and come back in order for my town to appreciate me. And that's written, and I know that. Yeah.
That's dope. That's dope. So, as an artist, you know what I'm saying, you have fans, you have people, you know what I'm saying, that follow you and look up to you. Does that ever dictate, you know what I'm saying, how you conduct yourself, you know what I'm saying, in the age of social media, as far as, you know what I'm saying, we in a cancel culture, you got to watch what you say, there's certain words you can't say. Do you find yourself, you know what I'm saying, as normal Treasure, you know what I'm saying, being on social media, like, I can't say that because, you know what I'm saying, I'm artist, model Treasure at the same time too, or is it just come get it is raw?
No, I ain't gonna cap. I definitely have a filter. When it comes to social media. What you hear me saying at a barbecue, you're not gonna see me typing on Twitter. I'm just not that. That's just not what I'm advertising. I always tell people if you want to get to know me, because people always say you'll look at my social media and you'll see most of the pictures are professional. Most of the or it's or it's articles or stuff like that. It's not really me going live in my bonnet, not taking away from nobody who does it, right? But
But I feel like that's what the platforms are for too. At the same
yeah,
time. Like,
yeah,
your
absolutely.
work.
You're supposed to connect. And people connect in the way they best know how. I know for me, with my audience, I choose to connect with them through song and through picture.
Hmm.
And I think if there's ever a time where I do want to get personal, I use platforms like this
Hmm.
so they can get to know me, so they can hear me speak in an organized way and not in a way where I gotta delete it or I gotta apologize for something later.
Or you only got 124 characters. You
Yeah,
know what
no,
I'm saying?
I'm okay. Just catch me on the interview, or even better, catch me in person.
For sure.
Yeah.
Facts. Facts. It's definitely a dope experience. You're definitely very talented. It was a pleasure to be able to watch you perform. That was my second time seeing you perform. I saw you perform at the Wild Hill before.
Okay.
I don't remember what event it was, but I saw you before.
Okay.
So, with that being said, what are we working on? You know what I'm saying? What can we expect? You know what I'm saying? What's your future plans? Is there anything that you can speak on? Anything that you cooking
Yeah.
up? Anything in the immediate future that we?
Yeah. I think mostly what you can expect as far as the music world, what you can expect is new visuals. I'm gonna be showing y'all so many different facets of me. I know Night Owl was kind of showing that trap R&B, but I think what I'm gonna show more now is more ballads, more pop, more dance. I want to, because the summer's coming.
Mm,
So I know what people want to do. They want to get out and they want to move. So I want to move with y'all as far as the music is concerned. As far as modeling, my next goal is I want to be on billboards. I know there's something I'm working on what that
what's the
process
bad
is.
billboard? That ain't nothing.
Come
We just
on,
got a
like,
billboard for my boys.
hey. And then I remember at one time, shout out to Johnny Demetri. I remember seeing Johnny Demetri on the billboard going down 290, and I'm like, girl, what?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah. So um, as far as acting, I can't really speak on the acting part, but you will be seeing me in some of your favorite shows, just background artisan. But hopefully, I get a lead role soon.
You get Lee roll to my shit. I'm sure. I'm trying to shoot for shit. We
Hey,
go rap though. I'm sure.
yeah, and then just stay looking out for all things Treasure, because it doesn't just stop with the music. It actually begins with the music, and it blooms into so many other things. So
For sure.
I'm just excited, and I'm looking to bring back my podcast. Like I was saying, I'm looking to bring back my podcast and just giving y'all a safe place to really just vibe with a vibe, really.
For sure, for sure. Well, I definitely appreciate your time.
Hmm.
I feel like it's the most valuable thing we got. So I definitely appreciate you making the time to slide on me. If you could let the people know where they can find your social media, where they can find the music, where they could possibly work with you as
Yeah.
far as music, modeling, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so you guys can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, wherever it is you're active, at Treasure Nicole. That's TreasurNecole. You can follow me everywhere there, but if you're looking to stream my work, and that's Apple Music, Spotify, Tidal, wherever it is that you listen to your music, it's just Treasure with the apostrophe like Beyonce, okay? So I'm going to see y'all.
For sure. I hate leaving questions on the table. I got a question that just came back up in
Yes,
my
come
head.
on.
We got 7 minutes left on the camera.
Sure.
The business part. How did you learn the business part of, you know what I'm saying, as far as like distribution, putting your music on the streaming platforms? Where did you get that information from?
Trial and error. I think I did. Shout out to Sonny D. He's an artist from Houston that really introduced me to distribution, the different forms of different distribution. Because I remember at one point, all I was doing was putting my songs on SoundCloud, and I'm just letting them
What they call
float through the
He's a
universe.
SoundCloud rapper. That's what
Yeah, and not understanding. Wait, this shit is too heat. Like,
For sure.
I gotta figure out a way to at least try to make some money off of it, right? So, I think shout out to Sonny D. He will always be the first person who taught me about distribution. But it was so much trial and error. It was times where I had to take my music down, put it back up. It was times where I'm like, wait, I didn't do this right. I gotta, and it's frustrating, because we make mistakes, but it's part of it. And now I can sit down with somebody and kind of help them through it now. So
for sure. Well, that was definitely my last question for the evening. Appreciate you coming through. I'm a big
Thank you.
fan of your work. You know what I'm saying? I love the vibe. I look forward to working with you in the future. I already got your Instagram and all
You
that, so
got
I'm
it.
going ahead close out the show in a minute. Gang.
Gang.
When I lost my dog to the streets, it ain't no beef. That we ain't squash the shit, who you gon' call it? Ain't no chief. Rocky, come out.